Mariners 1, Padres 4. And the Mariners went up against a similar pitcher as they did on Monday, where they got their fourth straight win. Things were heading in the right direction, and they're still headed in the right direction. You're only 8-10. You're still just 2 games back of 500. You've got a whole lot of opportunities. Still a week straight of games starting tomorrow on Wednesday. But you always got to compete. And you got to go 1-0 every pitch. You got to stay stoic. And you got to make it about something bigger than yourself. Which is why I say all glory to God. And if you don't, sometimes you can just get a little too high, a little too low. And even if you do. And that's just what happened today. You got a little too high, you got a little too low, and things just didn't work out. Now, your expected batting average, 221. That's nowhere near as paltry as we've seen in certain other wins this season. Um, and especially not in certain other losses. That might even be the highest expected batting average in a loss for the Mariners this season. If we were to go look back at it, I wouldn't be surprised if it was. 4 hits, 1 run, not the biggest night offensively, but you had a whole lot of opportunities. You had a whole lot of base runners. You did get it going, and you gave Michael King a run for his money in this game. Nearly got him out. A whole lot of different junctures in this game. Padres put up a pretty good night offensively. 11 hits, 4 runs, 254 XBA. Let's go look at the walks, though, right? You only walk 1 batter. And you only use 2 pitchers. Keep your bullpen extremely fresh. Mariners walked only 3 times, but they did win the walk battle in this game. With 2 guys that should and could be aces for any other team if they weren't on such a loaded roster. Then 7 strikeouts for the Padres and just 4 for the Mariners. That's 2 straight days of a Mariners pitcher going between 7 and 8 innings, with having less than a strikeout per inning. I think. Pretty sure that is the case. Yeah. Anyway, and you don't hit the ball hard very much. 4 total hard hits if you're the Mariners. Michael King escapes with 3 hard hits on 85 pitches. That's definitely. He's limiting the hard contact. San Diego is playing down in coastal environment in terms of hard contact tonight. Definitely playing down. Adrian Morejon allows the hard hit, and then you got a whole over 30 pitches to end this game without a hard hit. Brian Wu gets hit hard 11 times on 92 pitches, so he did allow some loud contact tonight. And then Casey Legamina 2 on 21 pitches allows his first run of the season. But this game, if I'm to place this on anyone's shoulders, I'm going to say that I'm going to say that it is the offense at the end of the day. 4 runs, it kind of could go either way. That's like the average. Like if you're 4 runs a game is kind of what you should expect. That's like the kind of the average baseline. And if you score more than that, it's probably a good day offensively. Score less than that, probably not such a good day offensively. And I think that's what you would say here, is that it just wasn't quite, you needed an average day offensively, and you didn't quite reach that. 4 hard hits, only 3 walks on the day, 7 base runners, not going to cut it. Man, and you look at the strikeouts. Neither team is striking out very much. Everybody's putting the ball in play, and it wasn't really the day to do that. There was quite a bit of swing and miss in this game, which we're going to get to in a second. But lastly, before that, allowing 3 times the hard hit rate, like I said, and you saw seeing 127 pitches. That's not terrible from San Diego. But then again, they only see 113 of your pitches, but they get enough, just enough off of you, and then they have Mason Miller at the back end, who's able to just shut things down in the 9th inning. Yeah, that's really what there is to it. 324 average allowed, and then San Diego only allowing 143 average. These are all things that normalize over the course of many games. Not a single extra base hit for the Mariners. Padres had 2 of those. Also, just so many more singles. That's kind of there's a whole lot of things the Padres just did a little bit better than the Mariners tonight, if not quite a bit better on the offensive side. Then the Mariners pitching. You look at Brian Wu. He was pitching out of the zone quite a bit. But he was also landing. Okay, I'm not really taking sides. I'm not really giving you guys the best post game right now. I don't think. But if I was to, if I was to really take a side on this pitch plot, it's like okay, I mean, he's getting his four seamer in there. He's also trying to induce some swing and miss up and out of the zone. They have some hot hitters, Xander Bogaerts, Gavin Sheets, Fernando Tatis, even, Manny Machado, guys who they can get hot and they can get cold. Some of the lower guys in that lineup getting hot, and then some of those top half of the guys definitely looking to get on a hot streak to begin the year. And you're trying to throw them a lot of stuff out of the zone, I think, to encourage that and induce that. But it's pretty far out of the zone. You're not really populating right on the zone here. And you look at Michael King's pitch plot; it's surprisingly similar. Now, Brian Wu, the two trademarks of any Brian Wu start when he has an awesome start, which he did, is that 10 swinging strikes right here. If, double-digit swinging strikes on 92 pitches, 10 on 92, and then you also end up with less than a 90 mile an hour average exit velocity. Those two things are awesome, for Brian Wu. I mean, he's always above average in both of those categories. But this one, it was just barely, above average. He still had his stuff to the point where, I mean, he's so talented, he can just breeze through some of these innings. Other than a 25 pitch inning in the third, he's really just breezing through these innings. Mix up the usage maybe a little bit, and mix up he is crafty when he needs to be too. So even on a day where he maybe doesn't have his best stuff, his stuff is actually playing up in this environment at sea level. Those pitches do play up, and I mean, you see, the sweeper playing up, even he threw 20 of those and had 6 more inches of induced vertical break, whereas minus 3 inches of horizontal break. So, but I mean, you see the pluses and the minuses here. A whole lot of pluses in terms of the break on his pitches being up. And he's got his 5 pitches. These are really the only 5 pitches he almost ever uses. He doesn't bring in a whole lot of outside stuff. He doesn't need to. He's got the 2 fastballs, got the 2 sliders, and he's got the changeup, and he rolls with that. And he has a lot of success, and he did tonight as well. But you look at Michael King. He goes and he keeps the Mariners' offense off balance just enough, to where he allows a bunch of base runners. It feels like. And then, I mean, their bullpen came in and shut it down. But he allows just enough base runners, that he can get out of these jams. The Mariners did suffer from some batted ball luck tonight. A whole lot of stuff getting hit to Ty France, funny enough. Ty France had several hits that he robbed. So it is what it is. The batted ball luck is going to go against you sometimes. You see the orange is the sinkers. I mean, the sinker was his main pitch in this start. Then the changeup, really going into the righties on that one, and also outside of the lefties, to be honest. Then he's got the sweeper, which he's throwing low. He's keeping that thing low, and pretty much out of the zone. The only stuff he's throwing in the zone is like the changeup. Sometimes, just like 3 4-seamers in the middle of the zone. But he saw Mike Burrows get crushed in the middle of the zone, like I kind of hinted to in the pregame. Mike Burrows gets punished every time he throws a 4-seamer in the zone yesterday. So when Michael King sees that scouting report and says, I'm a similar pitcher who's had a lot more success, in the big leagues, I'm just going to almost never do that. I'm going to keep the 4-seam all over the place other than that. Then, with the sinker, you fit it in the zone a couple more times, but still not too much. Maybe a little bit to the righties, keep it inside, maybe just a couple times put it in, inside of this the lefties as well, a decent amount. But yeah, you basically just did exactly what Mike Burrows failed to do, which is keep the 4-seam fastballs out of the zone, which I think that's just honestly better sequencing from Michael King. His sequencing in this game was really good. He throws 10 swinging strikes on 85 pitches, very similar to Brian Wu, and then an 83.2 mile an hour average exit velocity. And you look at this, then you see 35% in the zone. I think that must be the lowest of a pitcher that's gone this far, for certainly. But that'll be one of the lowest I think the Mariners see. All year, like in terms of zone rate for a pitcher that goes 6 innings against you as a quality start. Brian Wu in this 48, not living in the zone quite as much as he usually does. Um, he usually is over 50% at between the 50 and 60 comfortably. But Michael King just basically said, I'm going to pitch you guys a whole bunch of junk out of the zone, and you're going to live with it, and you're not going to do anything about it, basically. And when you look at, okay. You look at, right, how many strikes he had on each of these, right? 18 strikes on 28 changeups, total 49 strikes on 85 pitches. That's not that many. There was a lot of balls. There was a lot of full counts too by the Mariners tonight. Not just with the King, but some of the relievers as well. But I mean, more with King. Like, he was just getting deep into these counts and throwing a bunch of junk pitches and letting the Mariners think too much and decide, like, oh boy, do I want to go at protect the plate, on a full count? Okay, it's a full count. Do I want to protect the plate? Do I want to take this pitch and try to work a walk? And he was making that tough. He was letting himself get behind in the count, so that and throwing it out of the zone and trying to force the Mariners to, not just swing and miss, but swing and miss out of the zone and chase. 36% chase rate is elite, despite that 35% zone rate. The zone swing percentage only 57%. So the Mariners, quite a few called strikes there. Did swing 37 times, but like there was even that Julio at bat late in the game. I think this was in King's last inning. I have to go back and check, but where he didn't swing at all. He works a full count and then works a walk. Julio had a multi-walk game, here, which he only did 5 times all of last year, surprisingly. But yeah, these are some of those things that it's like, okay, you do well against Mike Burrows. Michael King comes and basically has the same stuff, uses it a different way, just says, oh, well, I'm just going to do, tinker, and I'm going to basically remove your greatest, your greatest way to win that you had there. And I'm going to replace it with, something that you struggled with. And I'm just going to do what you were not as good at. Mike Burrows, despite, the bad line yesterday, had like 10 whiffs on the changeup. So it's like, okay, well, I'm going to make sure my changeup is getting, some whiffs. He doesn't get more than, he gets 2 on 25 changeups. He actually doesn't get that many. And he's like, okay, well, Mike Burrows was going for the whiffs on the changeup. Maybe I don't do it. Maybe I just pitch out of the zone a whole bunch, make you guys decide, what you're going to do and think about it too much, and don't give you the fastballs in the middle of the plate so that you can try to get hot and just keep you guys as a cold offense, going into this, especially on the road. And it's funny because you go home to Seattle, your offense is good. Come back on the road, it's not as good. That's not what you would expect based on the hitting environments. Seattle's supposed to be the bad offensive environment when on the road. San Diego and Texas are supposed to be the good ones. So, an interesting night for the Mariners. It would be interesting to see what happens tomorrow. You got Emerson Hancock on the bump against Randy Vasquez tomorrow. And the things you're going to be looking for, Randy Vasquez upped his strikeout percentage way up this year. He is going to be going at it with you to try to strike you out. That's something He hasn't got deep into these games this year, though. If you can get to get the pitch count up on Randy Vasquez, this is where the same strategy as Tatsuya Imai, same strategy, as Cody Bolton, even though it wasn't, he's not the biggest strikeout guy. Same strategy as you used against Tatsuya Imai and on Saturday against McCullers. Like, get the pitch count way up. I want to see 150 plus pitches thrown by San Diego tomorrow. I think you can get Randy Vasquez out of there before the 6th inning, during or before the 6th inning, and get to that bullpen a little bit, earlier. Whereas today, you once you get to that bullpen where they do have the dudes, Adrian Morejon, the lefty, coming in and being a mercenary, getting after you. Then Jason Adam being awesome against you too. Then Mason Miller, obviously. We all know who Mason Miller is, and if you don't by now, man, you got to go watch some highlights because this guy's doing one of the best. Some of the best stuff you've ever seen from a closer, especially in recent memory. The comment question is, let's assume that Michael King, went out and did the opposite strategy of Mike Burrows. Randy Vasquez is going to do something different tomorrow. But what do the Mariners do when they get pitched out of the zone so much like this? How do you not overthink? Because it's easy to say take it, take pitches when they're out of the zone. But when they're getting forced to think, the pitchers are strategically going ahead in the counts like this, and then they're making you think. How do you not overthink as an athlete? Really is the more abstract question that is more relatable for anybody to answer. And that's how we're going to land the plane tonight. I appreciate you all for bearing with me. Remember, as long as you go 1-0 every pitch, stay stoic and give all glory to God. You can't lose. I will be back again tomorrow with the with the pregame in the afternoon. As soon as we see that lineup, Emerson Hancock versus Randy Vasquez. Like I said, maybe do a little bit of a deeper dive on Emerson Hancock and what he has to do to quell this San Diego offense and be one of the few pitchers. There's so few pitchers in baseball that have had a good 4 starts in a row. To start the season, it's like Jose Soriano. Skeens, Skubal, Crochet, all these guys have faltered pretty much. How can Emerson Hancock go out and be one of the only couple pitchers to have a good 4th start in a row to start the 2026 season? That's what we're going to be talking about in the pregame tomorrow. I'll see you guys then. Go Ems.